Welcome pre-cal students to the homework help video, page 265, 1 through 25 odd. Let's go ahead and get started, and hopefully we can get your questions answered for you. Numbers 1 through 9, we're determining the lead coefficient. The degree, and then classify the polynomial. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First of all, it's already written in standard form, highest exponent first, then your next exponent, so we're doing good there. Your whole first term, your leading term, would be 1/2 x cubed. That's the first term. Your lead coefficient would be 1/2. That's your first coefficient. And your degree would be a third degree, because that's your highest exponent. And what do we call the third degree? Well, if you look in your notes, you'll see we call a third degree a cubic function, okay? A cubic function. Moving on to number 3. Notice it's already written in standard form. Your highest exponent is first. So here we go. Your leading term, or your first term, is 0.9x. That's your whole first term. Your lead coefficient, or leading coefficient, is 0.9. That's your first coefficient. If you want to put the 0 in there, that's fine. You don't have to. The degree is your highest exponent, so your degree would be 1. And what do we call a first degree function? I almost said it there. We call it a linear function. So this is a linear function. Number 5, it's already written in standard form. Your highest exponent is first, so your lead term would be 305 x to the fourth. Your lead coefficient would be 305. Your degree would be a fourth degree. That's your highest exponent. And what do we call a fourth degree? We call it a quartic function. A quartic function. Okay? All right, moving on to number 7. Number 7. This one is not. Let me get a drink here. This function is not written in standard form, so let's quickly write it in standard form. Highest exponent first, then your next highest exponent, and then your next highest exponent. So there we go. So this is your lead term, or your first term. Even though you can't see a 1, there's a 1 here. So your lead coefficient is 1. The highest power is 4, so your degree is a fourth degree. And just like the last problem, what do we call a fourth degree? We call it a quartic function. Quartic function, all right? Number 9. This one is written in standard form. Your highest exponent is first, and then we go down from there. So this is my lead term, my first term. This is my lead coefficient, so my lead coefficient is 4. My highest power is 3, so I have a third degree function. And what do we call a third degree function? We call it a cubic, okay? Let's quickly review. If you have a 0 degree function, we call that, I'm going to write really sloppy, we call that a constant function. A 1 is a linear function. 2 is a quadratic function. 3, of course, is cubic, and 4, of course, is quartic. Okay, so make sure you're familiar with those. All right, let's take a look now at numbers 11 through 17. And it says to give the end behavior. Now, if you look in the book, they gave you some choices, A, B, C, or D. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to simply draw the end behavior right here. So I think you'll understand once you watch what I'm doing here, okay? I mean, I'll call the letter out if it helps you. That's fine, but we're going to draw it too. Notice I have an odd degree and a negative lead coefficient. So if you look in your notes, you'll see when you have an odd degree and a negative lead coefficient, by the way, make sure it's written in standard form, and it is. When you have an odd degree and a negative lead coefficient, it's going to go up to the left and down to the right. So there we go. You can just draw it like that, or you're welcome to put letter D if you want to. That's up to you. Letter D. All right, number 13. Notice it is written in standard form. So this is my degree, even. This is my lead coefficient, negative. So I have an even degree and a negative lead coefficient. Well, if you look in your notes, that means it's going to go down to the left and also, excuse me again, down to the right. And that's going to be letter B if you want to use letters. Letter B. All right. Number 15 is supposed to be C. Well, first of all, it's not written in standard form. I'm not going to make you write it in standard form, okay? However, make sure you get the degree right and the lead coefficient right. If you were to write this in standard form, this term would come first, correct? So that tells me my degree is odd, 7, and my lead coefficient is positive. So if you'll look in your notes, whenever you have an odd degree and a positive lead coefficient, the graph will go down to the left and then up to the right, okay? And that should be letter C. All right, number 17. The answer to 17 should be A. Let's see if that's correct. Here we go. Notice your function is not written in standard form. It is not. So because of that, we're going to have to find, here's the term, here's my lead term, has the highest exponent. So I have an even degree, 4, and I have a positive lead coefficient, 1/10, positive 1/10. So whenever it's even and positive, it goes up to the left, and it also goes up to the right, which would be letter A, okay? All right, let's continue on. Numbers 19 and 21, you're going to match these up with the proper graph. Now, notice that I have I have a polynomial function written in standard form, so that's good. Notice my degree is even and my lead coefficient is negative. So an even degree, lead coefficient is negative, so that means I'm going to have a graph that goes down to the left and also down to the right. Well, here's your answer right here, guys. If you'll look in your books, it's going to be letter C. Notice letter C is the only one that goes down to the left and down to the right. Okay, so there it is, letter C. All right, number 21. Let me get a drink here. All right, number 21. Notice I have an odd degree and a positive lead coefficient. Odd degree, positive lead coefficient. Now, if you look in your notes, that means the graph will go down to the left and up to the right. Down to the left and up to the right. Well, the only graph that go on in your options there to choose from, the only graph that goes down to the left and up to the right is letter D. So the answer is D. Okay? All right, moving on. Number 23. They want us to test these three numbers here and state whether or not they're zeros. 4, 5, and -2. Shouldn't be too hard. Let's go ahead and put a 4 in first for x. So 4 to the third power, -9, 4 squared, plus 14 times 4. Everywhere there's a 4, I put in, everywhere there's an x, I put a 24. Okay? And notice I should get a yes. So let's see if we do. All right, here we go. 4 to the third power would be 64. 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 9 would be a -144. And then 14 times 4 would be 56. And then bring down your positive 24. Now, if you add up all of your negatives, you'll get -144. And if you add up all of your positives, you will get 4, carry your 1, 7, 2, 144. And then if you combine those two numbers, you will get out a 0. Okay? So, when you substitute a 4 in, you do get out a 0. So, yes for 4. Okay? Now, I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to get a calculator and come back and use a calculator to save some time. Okay, I'm back, and here we go. Let's put a 5 in for x. Now, when you put this into your calculator, I want to encourage you to go the whole 9 yards and use parentheses like I'm doing and type it in exactly like it's written. That would be a very wise thing to do and not take chances, okay? So that's what I'm doing, so give me just a second here. 5 to the third power. Of course, every calculator is different, so it's very difficult for me to tell you how to type that into your calculator. But if you have a grapher, I can tell you right now it would look something like this. I will show you in just a second. Here you would have a parentheses 5, then hit your arrow button, and then a 3, and then -9, then put your 5, and then if you hit the squared button, a 2 will pop up right here, and the rest of it, of course, is just like this. It would not look any different. Just like that. So if you type all this into your calculator and hit enter, you will get -6. So what that means is f of 5 equals -6. So no, it does not work. These are really simple, guys. Just we'll do -2, then we have one more to do, another problem, that'll be it. So very carefully, everywhere there's an x, you're going to substitute -2. I'm not going to write all that out for you. This is really pretty simple math. So if you substitute a -2, and I'm going to tell you what you should get out, okay? If you substitute a -2 and be sure and use parentheses, so -2 in parentheses, then 3, and then -9 parentheses, and then be sure and put -2. Close your parentheses and then square it, and then plus 14 times -2, and then plus 24, you will get out -48. If I've done it correctly, you will get out -48. So f of -2 equals -48, and so that's why they have no right here. -2 is not a 0. That's all you're doing is testing numbers. Okay, we're going to get out no, yes, yes. Let's see what happens. Let's put a 2 in. I'm going to try to do this. 2's pretty small, so's 3, and so's -1. I'm going to try to do those in my head. If I put everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put a 2. So here we go. 2 to the 4th power is 16. 2 to the 3rd power is 8 times 6 is -48. 2 squared is 4 times 8 is 32. 2 times 6 is 12. Bring down your -9. Now I hope this is right. I did it in my head. If you add up all of your positives, 16 plus 32 plus 12, you will get 60. And if you add up all of your negatives, you will get -57. So I'm getting out 3. I did it in my head. I hope that's right. F of 2 equals 3. I did not get out a 0. So is 2 a 0 for this function? No, it is not. All right, let's take a look at substituting 3 in, okay? See if we can do this in our head. 3 to the 4th power is going to be 81. And then 3 to the 3rd power is 27, and I'll use a calculator here. 27 times -6 is -162. And then 3 squared is 9, and 9 times 8 is 72. 6 times 3 is 18. Bring down your -9. Okay, if you add up all of your positives, that's 81 plus 72 plus 18. You're going to get 171. And if you add up your two negatives, you'll get -171, which is 0. So f of 3 equals 0. So is 3 one of your zeros? Yes, it is. You substituted 3 in and you got out a 0. And now let's put -1 in for x. Well, -1 to the 4th power would be a +1. -1 to the 3rd power would be -1 times -6 would be a +6. -1 to the 2nd power is +1 times a +8 is a +8. If you put a -1 in here, -1 times a +6 is a -6, and then bring down your -9. If you add up all of your positives, you'll get a +15. If you add up all of your negatives, you'll get a -15. And so, of course, you get out 0. So f of -1 equals 0. Or in other words, you have an ordered pair, -1, comma 0. And so is -1 a 0? Yes, it is. Okay? Yes, it is. Okay, I hope this has been a help to you guys, this homework help video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call or email.